Hi everyone. Today I want to have a really honest chat with you about something that I see so many people wrestle with on this manifesting journey. It's one of those topics that seems really simple on the surface, but when you're actually living it, it can feel super confusing. So, let's talk about the idea of being in the right state to manifest. I get a lot of people asking me, how do I know if I'm in the right state? I feel stressed, I feel anxious. Does that mean I'm blocking my manifestation? Am I doing it wrong? Because there's a really common idea floating around in the manifesting world that says you have to be in alignment to receive what you want. And yes, that is absolutely true, but most people misunderstand what being in alignment actually means. People think that being in the right state means that you're totally calm, full of peace, overflowing with high vibes, with no trace of fear, no doubts, not even a hint of stress, like you've reached some Zen-like spiritual state where everything feels amazing and everything you want just shows up instantly. But let me tell you, that is not my experience at all. Especially not when you're in the middle of a difficult situation that feels extremely unwanted. And that's what I want to talk about today, because I know how easy it is to think you're doing it wrong if you're not feeling good all the time. So let's talk about what being in the right state really means, and how you can manifest your way out of a tough situation even if you're still feeling all the messy human stuff along the way. But first, let's go back a little bit. You may know, if you've seen some of my other videos, that there was a time in my life when things were really hard. I'm talking about those times when nothing seems to be going your way, where you can't see a clear path forward, and every part of you is just trying to survive the day. So I was at quite a low point. I felt completely stuck in an unwanted reality that I so badly wanted to shift. I was absolutely not in some blissful, floaty, high vibe state. I was stressed, I was worried, I was constantly trying to figure out what to do next. But looking back now, I can see something really clearly. Even though I felt all of that at the human level, deep down, I was still choosing to trust. I wasn't trusting perfectly. I definitely wasn't feeling peaceful all the time. But I was constantly bringing myself back to the state over and over again of assuming, I don't know how this is going to work out, but I know that God has a way. I know that something better is possible. I know that this won't last forever and that this is all leading me to my desired outcome somehow. And that trust, that choice to believe and have faith, even while I felt totally human and that my life was such a mess, is what pulled me out of that reality and into a much better one. Because even through all of that, the deeper part of me had made a decision. Even if my body was tense and my mind was racing, I was still choosing to assume that all this was leading me to what I want somehow. Now, that trust wasn't always strong. Sometimes it was more like a whisper. Sometimes it felt more like hope than certainty. But it was still trust, and that's what carried me through. So if you're watching this and thinking, I'm trying to manifest a new reality, but I still feel scared or anxious or unclear, does that mean I'm not in the right state? Here's the truth. Being in the right state isn't about nailing the perfect feeling. It's not about pretending you're not stressed. It's not about putting on a mask of positivity and forcing yourself to smile through the pain. It's about choosing to trust anyway and living from that trust. You might still feel anxious. You might still have thoughts like, what if this doesn't work? Or how is this ever going to change? That's okay. You're human. But if somewhere inside you can make the choice to trust and to keep choosing that trust moment by moment, then you are in exactly the right place. Being in the right state doesn't mean that all your human emotions disappear. It doesn't mean that you suddenly have no doubts or worries. It just means that at some level, you're making a choice to believe in something higher than your current reality. You're choosing to trust, even if that trust is tiny, even if it feels fragile. That little bit of trust is enough, in my experience. You don't need to nail some feeling before things can change. You don't need to wait until you're perfectly peaceful before things can change. And you absolutely don't need to feel high vibe 24/7 to be in alignment. Alignment isn't about emotion, it's about direction. It's about where your faith is pointed, even in the middle of chaos. It really is so important to understand this, because a lot of people have this idea that once you understand how manifesting works, you'll suddenly be able to shift everything quickly and easily. And if it doesn't happen like that, then you must be doing something wrong. But in my experience, the journey out of an unwanted reality can look really messy. It can mean navigating through failure and rejection and limited finances and things going wrong, and just not being able to see how the current facts could possibly ever turn into your desired outcome. The truth is, a lot of the time, the stress and worry and figuring things out phase is just part of the process that gets you from where you are to where you want to be. Because the movement, the trying, the effort, the intention, that's you setting the tone. That's you aligning yourself with the new reality. Even if it doesn't feel graceful and smooth and easy and straightforward. Now, I want to go a little deeper into why this works. The way reality operates, and I talk about this all the time on this channel, the way it works is that what you experience on the outside is being generated by what you assume and accept on the inside. Your assumptions, your inner knowing, your inner choices, that's the control panel. But here's the thing. You get to choose, even in the middle of chaos, that life is working in your favor. You get to choose, even while your mind is spinning, that something bigger is guiding you. And that choice is enough. Even if you don't feel it all the time, even if you fall in and out of it, even if some days you fully believe it and other days you completely forget and become immersed in the illusion, in my experience, if you simply learn to reach for that little glimmer of trust, just that little thread of possibility, then that is enough to change things. So if you're in a space right now where you're thinking, I just can't seem to get into the right state, I want you to pause and ask yourself, am I trusting? Even just a little bit. If the answer is yes, even a whisper of a yes, then I want you to know you're already on the right path. You don't need to reach for some high vibe frequency before the fulfillment of your desire can show up. Your manifestation isn't waiting for you to be in the perfect state. It's responding to your inner choice. Think of it like this. If you set your GPS to a destination, the path starts calculating straight away. Even if you're still in traffic, you don't have to get out of the traffic jam before the system starts figuring out how to get you where you want to go. And in the same way, your life begins recalibrating the moment you decide. When you set your destination, the GPS doesn't say, sorry, you're too stressed right now. I can only work correctly when you stop stressing. It just starts plotting a route from where you are to where you want to be. And yeah, sometimes you take a few wrong turns. Sometimes you hit traffic or construction. But as long as you've got that destination locked in, as long as your trust is set, it will keep redirecting you until you get there. That's what trust does. It's like setting the destination. And once you've set it, life will do whatever it needs to do to get you there. Even if you're not calm, even if you're not sure, even if you're totally fumbling your way through. So you don't have to feel perfectly aligned. You don't have to stop feeling overwhelmed. You just have to choose. And from there, just keep walking forwards until you get to where you want to go. This is one of the biggest mistakes that I see people make. This belief that they won't get what they want until they are completely aligned, until they nail some kind of feeling that makes them feel 100% secure and confident and without any doubt whatsoever. But that's not the case in my experience. You need to stop making it all dependent on finding the right feeling. Because when you're in a tough spot, your human self is going to be reacting to its environment. There's no getting away from it. And if you make getting what you want dependent on you feeling good first, then you'll keep yourself stuck in an unwanted loop. Because everything out there is forming itself according to your assumption. And so if you're assuming, I must be feeling totally positive and confident before I can manifest what I want, and you're in a situation which you absolutely hate and that is making you feel completely the opposite of positive and confident, then you're just going to continue creating this loop of I must feel good before I can manifest what I want, which leads to I'm not feeling good, therefore I can't manifest what I want, which then leads to the unwanted manifestation. And then you start all over again with the assumption that I must feel good before I can manifest what I want. And that will keep going on forever unless you break out of that cycle and you short circuit the whole thing. And the way to break out of that loop is to ask yourself, what would I do right now if I knew that things were going to work out? What would I do if I trusted that my desired path is already unfolding? And whatever the answer is, go ahead and do that. That is how you break the loop, because now you know that you're walking forwards on a path that is leading to your desired outcome. And since everything is forming itself according to your assumption, it's now this wanted reality that is forming itself ahead of you instead of the old unwanted one. So in other words, you don't need to push your feelings away. You don't need to fight with them. You don't need to force a state of perfection. You just need to lean into that feeling of trust, even if it's a soft trust, even if it's a shaky trust. Because the truth is, trust isn't about feeling certain all the time. It's about being willing to believe in something bigger, even when your mind is full of questions. It's about continuing to walk forwards even when you don't have a map. It's about remembering that you don't have to do it all on your own, because you have this infinite power that is always with you and that genuinely wants to give you everything you desire. So what does it look like to trust even when you're stressed? It looks like waking up and saying, I don't know how this is going to work out, but I trust that it will. It looks like feeling the anxiety and still choosing to take the next step. It looks like doubting yourself and still choosing to show up for your life. It looks like crying one moment and then smiling the next, because somewhere deep down you know something better is coming. So you don't have to feel complete clarity and conviction in order to be in the right state. You just have to live and act from the knowing that this is all leading to your desired outcome, because you have chosen it and you're trusting the source to create it for you. And why does this work? Because it's the acting part that builds momentum. I don't mean acting as in pretending. I'm not talking about acting as if what you want has already happened. I mean acting as in action, as in living, as in being. That's what makes the opportunities show up. That's what strengthens your belief. And slowly but surely that belief hardens into fact and becomes your new reality. Not because it's the action that is creating anything, but because your action is confirming your choice to live from that place of trust. And by doing that, you are causing that reality to materialize into fact. So when people ask me, how do I know if I'm doing it right? My answer is this. If you're choosing to trust even just a little bit, you're doing it right. If you're choosing to believe that something better is possible, even if your current reality feels heavy, you're doing it right. If you're showing up every day and doing your best, even while you're scared or confused, you're doing it right. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to be willing to trust. You just need to keep coming back to that trust again and again. So if you're watching this and everything feels difficult right now, if you're feeling like it's not working or like you can't get yourself into the right state, here's what I want you to do. I want you to remind yourself, I don't have to feel perfect to trust. I just have to choose to know that I am being taken care of and that I am in good hands. I trust that everything that I want is already unfolding. I don't need to know how. I don't need to feel perfect. I just need to trust. And then from that state, take the action that makes sense to you right now. Not because you're trying to fix anything, but because you're choosing to live from a place of faith, even if that faith feels wobbly. And here's something else I want to leave you with. We often think that transformation has to be hard, that shifting your reality must take intense focus, deep healing, massive emotional work. But what if it could be really simple? What if the biggest shifts actually happen when you just stop resisting where you are and you gently start believing in where you're going? What if the stress you're feeling isn't a sign that you're doing it wrong, but just part of the old reality shaking loose? What if it's possible for life to feel messy and yet still be manifesting something beautiful? So here's the truth. You don't need to wait until you feel calm, certain, peaceful, or aligned in the way you think you're supposed to. You don't need to fix yourself or your mindset or your emotions before things can shift. You just need to keep choosing to trust. You just need to keep reaching for that knowing that you are already on the path that is leading you to everything you want. That's what creates the shift. And that's what takes you from a reality where everything feels like it's going wrong into one where you have to pinch yourself every day because you can't quite believe that life can truly be this good. Okay, and with that, I am going to end this video here. Thank you for watching. As usual, if you have questions, you can put them in the comments or come and find me on Facebook or through my website. Please subscribe if you haven't already. Thank you for your support, and I will see you in the next video. Bye for now.